Today we're going to be going over this Corbin S press. Now, there's a few different manufacturers out there. If you're thinking about making your own air gun slugs, let me tell you the good ones to get into. You have the Corbin S press, and I'm not in no way saying one's better than the other. I'm just giving you the options because obviously one of them I hadn't even played around with. But the Corbin S press is a great press. The press slug is another great press, and both of them I've played with. This one I've had for about 6 months and flawless, except for this pin here that I blew up. So I'll tell you all about that later on and how to avoid that so you don't have to buy a new one. The press slug, I've been around it for a little while. Buddy's got one and been flawless, and I couldn't even tell you how many slugs he makes a year. Like, it's a lot. But GMI Engineering, they make a great press. I haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, but I've seen enough reviews, I've seen enough pictures and videos to tell that it's a very, very high quality product. I just yet to come across one, and hopefully one day I will. Then I'll make a little video on it. Maybe make a bunch of videos, who knows? But when you get into making your own slugs, you need to figure out what you want to do. Do you want a target round? Do you want to hunt? Do you want to make hunting rounds? What do you want to do? Me, I make ELR rounds because that's what I do. I shoot at distance all the time, so I want a precise slug. I don't care about expansion. I don't care about, some kind of devastation, that it's going to do to a small game animal, because I'm not hunting with them. If I'm hunting, I'm just going to buy a small tin of slugs, and that's what I'm going to use, because I don't use enough of them to justify me buying an expensive die set. Now that brings me back to the other point. When you're figuring out what you want to do with your press, you need to make sure that you know what calories you want. You want to know what kind of base you want, what kind of nose you want. Do you want a hollow point? Do you want a FX hybrid? Do you want flat base, dish base, boat tail? Like, there's a ton of options, and there's also a custom option. So you can design your own slug if you want, and somebody will make it for you. And then you have your own one-off, and if it works, it works. Brag about it. If it doesn't, put it in the closet and don't tell anybody or lie about it. Obviously, it's yours. Pretty cool to be able to design your own stuff, especially when that stuff works. Now this slug press here, this is the way it came. So I bought a single die set, which is the Ace .2175 die set, as well as the press. I can't remember exactly what it cost, but I think it was around 1,600 bucks. It's expensive, but when you're shooting like I do, and you're shooting expensive high-end slugs, it adds up quick. So it's easy for me to justify this. I say it's easy to justify, like, not easy to justify because it's a very expensive purchase. But when you see the batches of slugs that I was buying, like, they were expensive. I mean, I'm dropping 800 bucks or 1,000 bucks on a larger batch of slugs, and they'll get me through a year, and that's about it, or 8 months, and that's about it. So for the price of 2 batches of slugs, I bought a press. Now I can buy lead rope or blanks. Since I keep all my slugs the exact same size, and I'm shooting 40 grains, then I can buy these pre-made blanks. Obviously, they're more expensive because they're already pre-cut, but it saves me a whole step from having to chop a bunch of lead rope. If I was making different size slugs, if I was going from 22 grain sometimes to 40 grain, obviously I wouldn't want to buy pre-made because I'd have different size pre-made and it'd be in a way. So I'd probably just buy lead rope and go at it that way. But that's another thing you think of. And different size ropes are better for different types of die sets. So when you're ordering your press, you need to figure out, you need to ask them, if I'm getting this die set, what size blanks or what size rope do I need to get to run with that? Because obviously certain die sets are going to be particular or a certain size, because stuff can extrude around, or it can just possibly get stuck somewhere or damaged. So keep that in mind. And when you're running these, you got to make sure you're paying attention when this thing's going up, because if this thing's going up and you're just cruising along and your slug goes in and lays on top of there sideways, or pops in and pops out, and it kind of goes in like that, where it's not straight up and down, it's on an angle. You run that up in this boat tail, and you're going to be replacing it. And I can tell you that because I've done it. Because I like to try and make as many as I can, as fast as I can. I like to be efficient. I don't want to be here all day making slugs. So I've done some things with this to make it more efficient. And that was one thing I learned, that when you want to be efficient on this, you got to make sure you're looking the whole time. Because at that point, when I first started out, I wasn't quite looking. I got in a rhythm where I could just drop it in, pop them out. I didn't even have to look. And it wasn't until I broke it that I realized I just need to watch it. Now, on these, if you lock this thing down tight, you don't have to worry about it. But if you adjust this here and there, and you don't lock it down, this thing can loosen up as you're making blanks. Possible, maybe not. You just never know. So it's always good, to check your slug with a little scale once every now and again, just to make sure you're still holding the same weight. And that brings me to another note. There's a lot of notes on this, but when you hit your full stroke, that's how you want to time this. So the way I like to do it, when I hit full stroke, I'm coming right back up. So down, pow, back up. And when you keep the same rhythm, you don't have to worry about your slugs varying. Because if I set this thing up to where I drop it down, pow, back up, drop it down, pow, back up, that's going to be a certain weight. Now, if I slow down, if I drop it down, hold it for a half a second, bring it back up, my weights are different. So whatever you set this thing up at, you need to keep that same pace, because if you slow down while this thing's at full stroke, you're gonna spit out a little bit more lead, and your weights are gonna be off. So keep that in mind. If you want to be real precise, if you don't really care, it is what it is. If it's just a hunting round, who cares? But if you're trying to be precise and you want the absolute best quality stuff you can push out, then obviously you have to keep the same momentum, the same rhythm, and you have to do everything the exact same way. No different than running center fire, where you have to weigh everything, you have to clean everything, you have to. I mean, it's just more stuff. But obviously, since we're just making little lead blanks or little lead projectiles, it's a whole lot easier than center fire, and that's what makes this cool. It makes it pretty awesome because you can do really high quality stuff, and you can always keep your stuff on hand. When my slugs were out of stock, and they got expensive, and I'm pretty sure people were gouging, I was a bit frustrated, and I didn't want to spend it, but I spent it anyways, and this is what we ended up with. And I wanted to make this thing more efficient because I don't want to be out here all day, so I added a flicker. And when I make this, I drop that slug in there. Oop, you're gonna see when I drop that down, I bring it up, it's gonna pop my slug off. So that keeps me from having to touch every one of them. Obviously, touching them is not the end of the world, but it adds time that I don't want to do, and I want to keep a handful of blanks. I don't want to have to touch every slug and then reach over, grab a blank, put it in, do it, grab it, and just keep going at it. I'd rather have them just be able to drop them in. Now, this is the way this press comes. It comes right like this. So when you are making a projectile, you're going to be spitting out these little pieces here, and that's going to spit out right here, and they're going to make a mess everywhere. They're going to make a mess on your board, on your counter, on your floor, and they're not the greatest to sweep up. They're kind of a pickle to try and pick up if you ain't got no fingernails. So then I decided to make a tray, and the first tray I made was a white one. Didn't have no diverts, a little bit chintzy, didn't take much time, but it got the job done. And I'd set it in there and I'd pop them up and then catch them. But I'd have to sort the blanks or the projectiles from the scraps, but it still made it faster and I didn't have a mess. So the next one, I opted to try and redesign it, and this is what I come up with. So as you can see, this one here, if I can get the shade the light right, you can see we got a nice ramp here to pour our slugs out with. We have a pocket here, which is where we're gonna catch our scraps, our waste. And we have this pocket here that's gonna catch all of our slugs. So when I grab a hold of these babies, I'm gonna put a little handful in here. We probably got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 20 of them ish. And we'll see how fast we can get through these 20. I've already weighed this thing out, so I'm not worried about checking my weights. Usually I check them before I start, and then, you know, through a production a couple times, and yeah. But so let's see how fast we can get through 20 of these. Again, like I said, you want to make sure you keep the same rhythm, the same pace, and that's when you're going to get really good consistency. So we're going to pop that up. You're going to see all that scrap pops on that other pocket, and you're going to see all them slugs pop in the other one. You're going to see I can hump along at this pretty damn quick. Because of these things that I made on this press. Down, back up. Down, back up. And this piece up top that's hanging down, that is for the boat tail. So I like to leave it loose. I want it to self-align when it drops down into that die socket. I don't want to tighten it because I don't want to get it to you know, risk it jamming. If you leave it loose, it still does the exact same thing, but you don't have to worry about it catching or anything else. I don't know if it's right or wrong. That's just what I do. A buddy of mine told me to do that, so that's what he always done. So that's what I do, and it's been flawless. How many we made? I got another little handful. You see that? Just dump this stuff out here. We get all the waste, the scrap on one side, and we'll just take that and we'll just sweep that stuff out. Now we have a whole tray of slugs. We just pour right out, and that's about it. Anyways, hope this video helps. Guys got any questions, feel free to ask away. I'll be more than happy to answer anything best I can. Until next time, enjoy shooting. I'll see you later.